Okay, now we're using Nature's Set number 10. It's focused around the Country Chapel small stamp right here. And I'm stamping it in gold, so, I don't know what this is going to look like. I mean, that is light on, I don't know, and here it looks darker. Okay, if I go like that, then it's, glaring in the light and it's a little bit darker than the background, but this kind of mirrored reflective surface. I'm just kind of curious to see what we can do on it. I probably wouldn't be doing something. This is a half page, what is it? Eight and a half by 5.5. Okay, I'd probably be doing more of a card sightseeing. Okay, I'm gonna have to clean this one off later. A lot of times I don't clean my stamps in between use if I'm just using dye-based inks. But I wanted to test out kind of what and see what a full scene would look like. So let's go, kind of big on this one. Okay. All right. So this is the curvilinear road right here. And remember, I mean, I've designed these stamps to be used as kind of a dark on light because we're usually stamping on white paper. So this is a reverse out image of all of these stamps right here, so it's like the opposite is true, this is everything that should be dark is light, and light is dark, okay? But sometimes that can look kind of interesting, and we'll see if we can kind of make that work in this scene right here, and I happen to be going on, metallic, so that kind of adds an extra element into the mix that I'm usually not having to consider. Dealing with something reflective, much less, reversed out. So there's two kind of very unconventional elements. Okay, that path goes to right there. I'm going to put my finger on it. I'm going to aim that pathway going roughly to that front porch area. Okay. And I can overlap a little bit into the country chapel. It's not like a jigsaw puzzle so much. You want to do some overlapping a little bit. This one I don't want to overlap the country chapel by a half inch or anything like that. But just in general, you kind of have them match up like that. Okay? It looks really weird to me. It looks like a, not in a kind of a bad way, but it looks like a negative. Like I used to be in take this graphic arts class in high school, and we used to shoot these plates to print on offset printers. And this is what this type of thing reminds me of. I mean, it doesn't look exactly like that, but it reminds me of that type of thing. Okay, so that is the curvilinear road. Normally I'd kind of wipe off a little bit of the sides there if I'm doing it in kind of a, dye-based inks. But, I don't know. I didn't think to do that. Maybe I should have. Okay, this is the Sedge Filler stamp. It's really weird doing kind of a scene like this. Using this reversed out imagery. And then, of course, working it on a shiny piece of paper like this. Or a shiny surface. I don't even know if this is this considered paper? I think it's board. Foil board or something like that. I don't know. The thickness, I mean, it doesn't remind me of a board. Okay, so I can see a little bit of the, God, can you see that at all? Okay, yeah, okay. So there's a little bit of that blockiness, but we're going to eradicate that if we can. So the general type of formatting applies here in terms of our overlap, okay? I'm going to use these trees. This is the tree cluster off of this set. This is the set right here, by the way. We're just kind of using this as a foundation. We'll use some other stamps, so we've used that one, and we'll use this tree right here. And I could use the sun. I really want to do those sun rays on this type of paper. If you've seen any of my videos before, I do this thing with what they call crepuscular rays. Those are those rays coming from the sky when you can see them like that. Or if you're walking through, some forested area, and let me wipe off a little bit of the bottom of this. Anytime those rays are coming down like that, they're called crepuscular rays. Okay. But where you are able to see a little bit of those seams in here, I'm just going to, stamp some trees like that. And I can mask off some of this and put some trees in the back there. It's looking pretty interesting. It'd be kind of, I'm doing gold on gold. It'd be kind of interesting to do other colors on this sometime. Maybe silver on gold or gold on silver. I do have some silver version of this paper. It's a little bit more kind of like a polished chrome looking thing. Surface. I don't know, I need to do all kinds of tests on it. Anyways, this is stamping. It stamps quite nice in terms of the impression quality, considering I'm stamping with pigment ink. I tend to see, a lot of times I even mistake calling it. Sometimes I call it paint. Because this pigment inks do remind me of paint. Just because of how thick they are. Okay, let's see if I can mask this off right here. What I'm going to do is I'll just put some trees on the other side of this kind of little slope. I kind of made it a little bit sloped just to make it a little bit more interesting than to make this horizon line going straight across. It gives it a little bit more, maybe a slightly more dynamic angle, having diagonals in scenes like this. Okay, so is that what I mean? Is that it kind of slopes off like that? So it's like a little chapel on the hill, Chapel Hill. Okay, all right. So there we have that. It has a different feel to it depending on the angle you use it at, doesn't it? Oh my gosh, looking at that glare, I hope this isn't hurting your eyes. Shining in there like that. Okay, let's see. Okay, now, I plan on using some white on here, but I want to use that for my foreground. I'm usually going kind of lighter in the distance and darker in the foreground for closer types of trees and objects and stuff of that sort. But we're doing it a little bit different in this one, of course. All right, let's see. Let me find a couple stamps that I want to use on here. I was thinking about the Leafless Limbs Lg here. Okay, I can use some of that. We can go with another pine. I'm not quite sure how much layering that I want to do on here, image over image over image at this point in time. But, maybe just some white impressions with this. We'll go with the Brilliance Moonlight White. I couldn't remember if it was Moonlit White or Moonlight White. I think there was a color box Moonlight White as well. Or was it Moonlit White? I can't remember. But that used to be my favorite white pigment ink. Okay, so again, the Brilliance inks are fast drying. Okay, not just the gold one, but that entire line. I don't know what is in them that makes them fast drying, but what I would recommend with anytime you use the Brilliance ink is to kind of clean off your stamps afterwards, because it'll dry on your stamp. I mean, if it dries on there, you can probably scrub it off or whatever, and it would come off no problem. But Better to do it before it dries, and it's just easier to do, just so it doesn't leave that residue and potentially work as a resist for future inks that you use on it, especially if you go and use a dye-based ink on it afterwards. Okay, now, one of the things that occurred to me yesterday when doing this was I love the way that that white stamps on there. It looks practically embossed to me. Not in terms of feel and the three-dimensional aspect of it, but just in terms of the opacity of it. I am really quite pleased with how that stands out. I'm used to stamping out a lot of white pigment inks on things, and for it to be really quite translucent, almost transparent, you know, more than opaque. I don't know. There's transparent on one side and completely opaque on the other, and in between is all this different layers or levels of translucency. Lucency is where you can kind of see through it, like wax paper or something. But this one, I don't know. It just stamps really quite well against that background like that. And I'm thinking, I wonder if it's because it's the the more non-porous it is, I guess the more that pigment ink will stay on the surface as opposed to getting absorbed in. I don't know. I'm just speculating here if that's why this stands out really well on this paper. Okay, so remember what I was talking about. This is going way back to this Sedge Filler stamp. Now, normally that blends together much better, but on this, where you're practically doing paint and whatever over the front of it, see, down here where that texture is in the background, that grass texture, when you put the foreground things in there like that, it doesn't even matter, so I'm not worried about any of those types of things when I do my initial stamping. Even if things aren't kind of merged together real well, you get some gaps in between imagery. If you do overlapping imagery in your process, it's not going to matter in the end. Okay, so we have something like this. I think that looks pretty interesting like this, though. See, like that? Chapel back there. And I've placed these trees out to each side like that. I don't know, it gives it a pretty interesting wintry type of look, I think. It's definitely a different look than your white papers or even kind of dark matte papers that I like playing around with too. One of the things about this paper, though, see, I cut this yesterday, but look how bowed it is. You know, it's going like this. It's curved, and I actually counter bent it before I did this one, but it's kind of, I don't know, for some reason it just wants to curl. Maybe it's the metallic aspect of it and the thickness of it. I don't know, in combination. I mean, you just counter bow it and it's fine. Or if you're going to mount this to something, then, you know, you won't have to worry about that curling like that. But that's just an observation. Okay, so I want to do a word stamp on here. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about which one I want to do. But I want to further test out this process. I like the scene right now, but I want to test out some of my water. Dr. Martin's bleed proof white watercolor splatter painting on this. I want to kind of make it look snowy. Now I know this will dry on there just fine. Okay, but let's add a little bit more texture to this as well. Let's go with that gold again. I'm going to do, I don't know, I want to stamp a quote stamp up there, but I think I want to do that after. Maybe. I was going to say, I want to do that after I do the Dr. Martens. I don't know, but if I do it after the Dr. Martens, I might not be able to stamp it out. I'm not sure. Okay, this is the oak branch. I don't know. This has added a world of possibilities for me in terms of the usage of my Brilliance pads. These Brilliance pads are, I've mentioned it before, I wouldn't be surprised if they're 16 years old. Now, I don't live out in Arizona, so they're not, completely dried out on me from not using them. Anywhere where it's really super arid, as the stampers out in the Phoenix, area, or the Mesa convention told me, I was at a convention out there, and someone said, if a stamp pad doesn't have an available re-inker, they don't even bother buying that pad. They have to be able to re-ink it. Okay, now I'm going to stamp this one again, but let's do it in the white, and let's test out that layering again. It should be able to. And this is one different stamp over another one, but we should go with the same stamp over the top of that one. So I think that this is opaque enough where we can do that. Okay, now on the oak branch, I have different levels of density. This area over here is denser, this one's lighter, and I did that purposely so that you can use different portions. Some people use the whole stamp for a scene, but most of the times I see it as being used for different portions. See that right there? Depending on what you want. So when I'm designing my stamps, because I'm a stamper too, I'm trying to conceive of how these can be used in the most kind of universal and widely applicable, applications. Okay, so that means using something in its entirety, but also a part. Okay, see that right there? Maybe I should have stamped it a little bit further down so you can kind of see the difference, but it does give some dimension to it, and it matches the bottom in terms of having some visual depth from some element within the scene. Okay, let me go pad to stamp here. Okay. And let's go over here, I think. Okay. You see that right there? See that white on gold? So it looks a little bit more composed, I think, that way. Composed in terms of maybe contained. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. Okay, so let's test this out now. Let's test out the bleed-proof white, okay? We're going to kind of put the snowy dusting over this whole thing. I really love this paint. I use it all the time. And I don't know. It can really add kind of a dynamic element into this, into our scenes. I haven't done it on this gold foil yet, because I just got it. But let's see here. You have to kind of mix up the paint every time you use it. One little jar goes a long way. And this, I don't know, this one's getting pretty low, so it tells me that I'm using quite a bit of it. It's not expensive or anything like that. It's like the cost of a couple stamps, but you can use it for years and years. Maybe you like it so much that you're using it all the time, though, like me. Okay, so but it's a super opaque white paint, and it's designed that way. It's designed to be very, very opaque. It's like calligraphers all use it for their white on black lettering. Okay, so this is just an old toothbrush. Okay. And I don't want so much in here. I don't want a big drop of paint to go dropping out on my scene. Watch me do that right now. I try not to be too in a hurry in these videos because that type of thing might happen. Okay, so I've drained out a lot of that too, okay? Now if I've drained out too much, then I'll just, dip it in there again. But okay, so I'm going to hold this up just for the sake of the video so you can kind of see it being splattered on there a little bit more, okay? I'm holding this out at a little bit of a distance. Gosh, I got it. Maybe I need to have this flat, okay? If I hold this up, you're getting that glare and you can't see me where I do that, so. Okay, so, 5 inches away maybe. And then with my thumb here, okay, I'm just going to release a little bit of paint at a time, or a couple of the bristles. It's not just going zip, okay? I'm just going to, see, I'm releasing like, I don't know, 2 or 3 bristles at a time. You kind of have to get familiar with the direction of the spray. Sometimes it sprays one way, and another time it sprays another way. Not during usage, but I'm talking about um, per usage. Okay, so here. I generally want things a little bit kind of varied in terms of my dot pattern too. So maybe the wetter it is, I think, or is it the thicker it is? Depending on the spray, you'll get kind of a large dot and a small dot sometime. And it's not so random. I mean, it is to a certain degree fairly random. I mean, it's more random than just putting dot by dot down here. But I mean, you can just kind of stay in an area and work it a little bit and work it, work it, work it, work it, whatever. Just a couple little bristles. And then I just keep going back and I keep going back again like that. So see like that? I don't just keep working my way down this like that. Now, this paint really stays on the surface and dries very quickly. It's just the nature of bleed-proof white. I mean, it's not drying so fast on my toothbrush that I can't sit there and splatter, until I'm done, without it drying up, but it dries on the surface pretty fast. Okay, now it dries on the surface and leaves this kind of, if you touched it, it would leave kind of this textural feeling on it because it's sitting there right on the surface. It's not absorbing at all. So that's why I was trying to think, do I want to stamp my quote stamp in there now or later? Because sometimes it's harder to stamp over a textured surface with a stamp. But here we go. Here's that texturing in there. Okay, now that one of the things I noticed for sure is that because this gold is light on, I don't know, slightly darker. I mean, it depends. I don't know. What do you say? It's reflective, so it's kind of hard to explain. I guess in general, it's that gold is light because those images look lighter on dark, right? But it depends what's on the reflection. But um, so that snow pattern, see over here. I mean, you can see it really close up like this, but when I go like this, it's really not as apparent, right? But so the white dots don't show up as much naturally as if they were stamped onto a darker background. Okay. So getting used to the that kind of reverse out kind of concept and playing around with that. Let me find a good quote to go along with this scene, and let's see if one will fit right in there. Okay, I'm going to pause the video while I do. Okay, I'm going with the Starlight, Starbright, first star I see tonight. I was thinking about putting a star. I was thinking the North Star would look really fantastic in this. Conceptually, from a thematic standpoint, if this is going to be like a Christmas scene, with snow. But also from a visual standpoint, I don't think there's anything. There's not really. I mean, that chapel in there is a focal point, but it really, I don't know, visually recesses back into the scene just because it's kind of textural here, more so than other instances. Okay, I need to, let's see here. I'm just eyeballing this and hoping that it stamps out reasonably straight. Okay. When you're using pigment inks on this type of surface too, it's real mirrored, okay, so try not to, because the pigment inks are thick, you know, and like paint, you don't want it to slide on you. Okay, so anyways, there we go. Starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. Now there's a billion stars up there, but I'm kind of thinking, do I want to do it like a North Star type of thing in here and draw that in? I'll see if I can do that with my white acrylic paint pen. I haven't done that on this paper before, so everything, you know, so much of what I do is kind of first for this paper. It's so slick. I work on glossy cardstock a lot, but nothing this slick. I'm looking at the quote stamp there. That quote stamp, I stamped it out in the white. Right? But that one, it's like the color of the foil is coming through. Look at this. This tree is in white, but it looks totally different than that quote right there. I was thinking, did I just stamp that out in gold, or did I stamp it out in the white? I'm pretty sure I inked it up in the white, right? Yeah, I can see the white on the stamp right here. So I don't know. I don't know. It's like the world of the unexpected. Or, well, I don't know. It's not unexpected, but you know, definitely not the 100% predictable. Okay, so let's see here. I'm trying to get in here. I can't touch this. I don't think. Yeah, it's a little wet still. This stuff, that when you're doing this, expected, you know, a drying time of overnight. Okay, let's see. Where am I going to put the North Star? Let's put it, I want to put it in the vicinity of the chapel, but okay, let's go right here. I don't want it right in the middle. Okay, so what I do is I usually make a little dot, kind of a larger dot than, you know, that spray pattern snow, and then I do these little marks with my white paint pen. So let's see if I can do it here. Okay, so you just kind of do a little flick. Do a little, like a golf swing, you know, when people are kind of practicing their golf swing. They go up to the ball and then they take a couple practice swings, right? This paint pen of mine, is it flowing? I can't even tell. Yeah, it is. Okay. Okay. Goes like that. It's a little smudgy, but that's all right. Okay. I can't get in there too because my hand, I don't want to. Here. Maybe I can do this. I'll cover it up like that. I'll go like this. I was going to be lazy and go down. I always like my check marks to go down because that's the natural motion of a hand. And I think I get a more natural kind of little streak. Okay. And then what I'll do is that one went a little bit longer than what I wanted, and then I'll do my intermediate ones, or my secondary points, I should say. Like this. Okay. And I make them shorter. So you have to do that kind of check mark. Don't go just draw it and then up, okay? You want it to kind of taper off if you can. Now this pen here, I mean, if you don't get this right, I'm guessing you can just wipe this off. It'll probably just wipe off this type of surface, you know, before it's dry. So anyways, see that right there? I think that looks pretty decent. Okay. And it's not great. Oops, I smeared my C a little bit. See, that's why we really should wait for it to dry a little bit more. I don't know. It's all right. Okay, now, that star right there, let's put a few little, let's create a little bit more variation with our snowballs, too, while we have this pen out. I'll put some larger dots over some things like this. So I mean, these could represent stars as well, but I want it to represent snowfall, so I'm drawing it in front of a lot of my images, right over the top of it, right? Now I know it's kind of a clear sky, but let's say the clouds are over in this direction. It's like it's like that song. Have you ever seen the rain on a sunny day? It's kind of cool when there's sun out, but it's snowing, like where you are. Kind of a break in the cloud type of thing. Okay, but do you see what this little dot variation is doing? It's just kind of creating kind of a secondary texture. We have the texture going on with the white, the bleed-proof white, but then you have this other pattern laid over the top, and it almost becomes like a secondary one, even though it's the same kind of convention of a white dot. It's just larger, so from a visual standpoint, I think it looks a little bit different. Okay, so there we have that. All right. And, one of those things, I mean, oh, I forgot about these little snowflakes like this. I have these gold little snowflake things in here. Gosh, do we go crazy with that? I think this is already really loud in here, so I think I'm just going to go with some crystals. Now, these are loud visually, but they're somewhat subdued as well, you can say. They can kind of be two things at once. But they're kind of subdued in terms of, they don't stand out unless they're kind of capturing the light, these raised rhinestones, okay? So what I'm going to do, this is just some ink, paint, glue. Can't even think of the word, I hardly ever use glue. And I'm going to put a little dot of it down where I'm going to put some of these rhinestones. Okay, now this is something where I might forget where I put my glue, so maybe I won't put too many of them. But let's say these ones will just represent some stars in here. Okay. This glue is so thick. I'll kind of cluster them, kind of make some a little bit more spread out than others. Okay. Put a couple of them together, and I think it looks better in terms of a I don't know, a texture or pattern. If it's something like that, oh darn it, I got that little drag of glue. It kind of dragged out there. Okay, this glue is really thick. It's super old too. Okay, let's try some of these stars. I don't want these to dominate the North Star, so we'll stick with some of these smaller pieces here. Look how big these ones are right here. You can see it next to my finger, But these ones are really tiny in here. They're all different sizes. Okay, where's my picker? Thanks again to the person that told me about the jewel picker. I'm sure there's different types of them out there, but this thing really makes my life easier. Okay. All right. I grabbed a couple of them that time. I don't know if these jewels are standardized, but this one's a number 5. Someone was telling me that the larger the number, the smaller the jewel. So I was wondering if it was like a it represents 1 over 5. Kind of like in photography, the f-stops represent 1 over something, so 22 is much smaller than, f4. Okay, let's go with, those are 3? I don't even remember how many I put down there. 4. Let's go with the number 3 here. Okay, so a little bit bigger. See how nice these jewel pickers are? Okay, can't tell which one's a little glistening bead of glue or if it's a gem, jewel, crystal. I'll get my vocab down here one of these days. I'm using all kinds of different things on this, so I don't have it. It's not second nature talking about this media, although I'm not using a ton of stuff. But okay, so anyway, I think that's enough there. All right, so can you even see those jewels? Okay, there's like, see that right there? Maybe, I don't know if you can tell. Okay, you can kind of see them glistening. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right there. Okay, see them? Oh yeah, there you go. You can kind of see it when I catch that light right there. But let's see if you can see the different colors right there, or not different colors, but the reflective. Yeah. Okay, here we go. I can make this darker just by switching it up like that, but you can see those little crystals in there kind of shining in the sky. See that one right there? It's like on, off, on, off. And like I was saying before, these little crystals are really fun to use because it really makes it interactive. It really kind of, when you hold it, you want to do this type of thing and, and check it out like that. So it's definitely one of those things that kind of invites further inspection, by the recipient of your card. And that can be really fun. There I am. So, okay. I think this combination, at least, gold on gold, white and gold on gold, works pretty good. So we haven't even explored, I don't know, there's all kinds of different colors of brilliance inks out there. Stuff that will dry on this type of paper. I haven't even tried the black. I tested it out. My black pads are super dry right now, so I was going online looking for some re-inkers on them. I don't know, I'm finding that, I don't know about you guys, but is it harder to find certain things these days? Like there's certain types of things out there that, I don't know, used to be readily available, but I'm having a hard time finding some of it now. But anyways, yeah, I do need to get some reinkers or just some new pads. But I'll probably be checking out some different colors of this too. And maybe even some different foils. I'm finding that these foil boards like this, I saw a multi-pack. I think it's meant for like kids in classrooms because there's like, I don't know, 10 different colors and about 4 or 5 different colors of each. I think they were 12 by 15 or something, some kind of unconventional size. And they're really quite inexpensive. But someone was mentioning, I think, a dark blue with these stamped out in silver ink. Can you imagine that in terms of a kind of a winter type of scene? But I don't know. I think that looks pretty good. I'm not into certain types of things. And I think if I could go overboard on this with more foils and glitters, but I think it would look a little bit gaudy. But I think this looks, I don't know, reasonably. I don't know. It's not understated, but I think it's it's not bad in terms of just a visual statement. I think it's fairly stylish as an end piece result or whatnot. And I think it's certainly fun to play around with. And it's easy to do, that's for sure. Just stamping out the scenes. There was no coloring or anything like that. A couple different techniques on here. I want to try some mist. I want to try some misting types of effects, but it's going to require me to allow this to dry. And then I can go in here with pigment ink and add kind of a foggy type of effect or kind of a ripped paper towel cloudy effect in here. I'm not sure if I can do it with regular pigment ink where it would dry or if I'm going to have to use the Brilliance, but I avoid Brilliance inks usually when I do that type of technique because it just dries so fast and it's kind of hard to manipulate, but I think it'll be worth it if it works on a paper like this. So, okay, so anyways, I hope you enjoyed the scene. And yeah, if you've had experience using this type of paper before, maybe you can leave some comments in the comments section and give us some tips on some different possibilities with it in terms of media compatibility. Look at my hand. See how mirrored this is? And look at it over the images. It's like a ghostly hand or something like that. But when I didn't stamp in there, like right in here, it's really quite mirrored. So I don't know. It's just so fun to play around with. And this paper, like I said, these boards in my previous video, they're all relatively inexpensive. It was 60 sheets, 8.5 by 11 for $16. So I don't know. It's not that much more expensive than some papers. So fun stuff. Okay, thanks for watching.